Oh, hello? You can make it. You can make it today? Come on in. The door's unlocked. We're gonna welcome a very special guest. I want to introduce a good friend, a good friend, mentor, just all around white guy, Mitch Hudson.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Hey, don't pull the chair back. Just go in. I don't want to mess up your focus, Mark. These are Panasonic cameras. They can't compensate.
Oh, you know.
Well, it's good to finally have you on the show. I mean,
good to be here.
I've been trying to get you on here for hours.
Yeah, it's been it's been a back and forth for a while.
Real rough day of it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get you here.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Real bitch.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. No, I mean not the day.
No.
But
I didn't really want to do it.
Yeah. But anyways, let's start with the big questions.
Sure.
Why? What? Or
what?
Sorry, well, what?
In like a general sense.
Yeah.
Like
what is your background? Like, what do you do?
Sure.
What do you do for money?
I don't know what I do for money, but I do work in film. And I've been working in film and some TV for a couple years, and I generally do a lot of set logistics, either as an AD or on like a lot of the smaller sets. I just kind of help with in the offices or things like that. Just got back from a TV show I did in Alabama for HBO.
I know Mitch from how many years ago?
It was a couple. It was I think 2013.
Wasn't it? Yeah, we met Mitch. You were I guess a film school student then, and now you're going from couch to couch, working in independent film and TV.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I try to. No, it's all right. It's all right.
I thought it would be really interesting to interview you here because I guess you're still in the process of making your career.
Right,
You're certainly to the point where one, I guess, could call you a professional. You're paying for an apartment in Atlanta and whatnot.
Yeah.
Kind of want to see what was that journey? Being at the beginning steps of the journey.
I've had a degree of success on different projects, but I still find myself sleeping on floors to get jobs sometimes.
Yeah. We were supposed to do this yesterday, but you couldn't come in because of back issues. Probably from sleeping on the floor.
Yeah. I had to take some painkillers, but you know, that $150 a day sure paid off.
Do you know America consumes 80% of the world's opiate supply?
I didn't know that.
There you go. You're helping out. Congratulations. Yay. You're not building a career on doing one particular job.
No.
You're building a career more on just a general reputation and just being generally used on set. So how did you get into that?
Obviously, the first I did in this business was with you guys. That was kind of the first start. And with you guys, I think, is part of how that all got established, because I remember when we would do a lot of our commercials or web series pilots or what have you, I would jump around from helping kind of set up the crew and the cast and help run the set, and then I would jump over and I would operate a camera, like the B cam sometimes, or I'd go and I'd set up the audio and I'd run that. And so some of that experience made it that I was at least minimally qualified for some of these positions, And I think a lot of people picked up on that during film school. A lot of professors and a lot of the producers who would come in and visit and make projects with us, they saw a lot of that. And so different people saw different skill sets of mine. And so, like, there's a producer who thinks that I'm an accountant. And so when he makes projects, I'm an accountant for him. And there's a producer who thinks that I'm an audio guy. And so when he makes projects, he brings me on to do audio for him. And then there's another producer who thinks that I am an AD, which is what I actually want to be, and I go and I do that. But I have directed a feature. I did that my first summer out of film school. That's more of a passion side of film for me. And hopefully we'll have that in a lot of festivals and get enough traction to make other features that I would like to do.
So what are you saying? You just kind of developed a sort of mindset outside of film school, which you applied to some of your work in film school.
Right,
and then you made contacts during some of the films you were shooting during film school that led to jobs?
Exactly, yeah. I would say
all right,
that.
we got to draw this thing out.
Yeah.
Hey, can you pass a marker, Thomas?
What color do you want?
We got a whiteboard here. We can map this thing out here. You got a.
Here's pink.
All right.
Here's blue. Here's red. Here's green.
Hey, we got
Can you pass the eraser? That's the question. I don't think he knows what a flowchart is.
I think I'll do.
It doesn't even have to be real, because they don't know.
As you can see, this is my career. This is a production company I worked with for a little bit. That was kind of how I got my start, interning with them. And at the same time, I was in film school, FS, and kind of simultaneously did both. Film school, more than anything, helped me get connections with other people more than necessarily education. There are parts of the education that were helpful, but I think it was more of, it was a good platform for me to apply myself to other things. And then this was kind of where I applied a lot of that. So the two kind of coincided.
Yeah.
Both of them kind of fostered audio work that I've done a lot of. Because of both of those things, I started getting hired to do audio on features. And that's what kind of this section of my career is in film school, I wanted to be a director. That's what I was looking at doing. That's what I had a passion for. So I directed a feature and hoping to put that into festivals. But I think in that process, and I think since then, I've realized that although I do like directing, it's something that I'd want to do more on the side. Like I don't want to be a career director who just directs and directs and directs, but more of like a every now and again, if I can get the funding, make a project. One of the producers of a film that I worked on wanted to mentor me, which was awesome. Like it was a huge, kind of a huge milestone for me.
Did he just say, "Hey, I want to mentor you"?
Yeah, pretty much. I basically told him I want to be an AD or a producer. Like that's kind of the route I want to take. And because he does a lot of that, he said, "All right, well, come on with me. I'll bring you on to different projects, and I'll teach you how to do some of the things other people don't really want to do, and you do that for me enough, and I'll eventually hopefully get to have you on higher positions." I'm going to give you a rundown here of how I got my most recent job. This will kind of show you, I think, hopefully how connections can work. Let's start with this. So this is film school, working in film school, and then from film school, I got hired back to work on a feature that my film school made as the location manager. Because I'd done a lot of leadership type positions before, I had directed a feature in between these two, and so they felt confident that I could lead that department. And then from there, I met a guy who brought me on, mentored me, and he wanted me to work for him, but as an accountant. So here, I'm the assistant accountant on a feature in Birmingham. Did that, and then because I did a decent job with that, he and a couple other producers brought me on as the main production accountant on a film in Tennessee. In this case, PA is production accountant, not production assistant. While I was working on that project, I was roommates with a guy. I just put that down here, a little Venn diagram. BFF. My roommate down there, we got to be pretty close. And he lived in Birmingham, which is where I was first an assistant accountant. And he got offered a gig in Birmingham, Alabama, on a reality show, RS. And because I had roomed with him on this project, I was able to come and work with him on that reality show. And that's how I got that gig. That's my career in a nutshell.
That's
Well,
big.
but given that we met like 4 years ago, I mean that's
It's not bad.
That's not bad. It's
I've been
not bad
very fortunate. A lot of making it in film and TV is being willing to do a lot of odd jobs that move in the direction of getting you to where you want to go.
So you would say probably like ego and ambition is probably the two biggest traits that will get you where you want to go.
Yeah, well, I'd say humility and ambition.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, humility and ambition will get you where you want to go. Actually, we should do the opposite. I want people who watch this to not get the jobs that I want to get.
Yeah.
So be as cocky as possible on set. Tell everyone you're a director and this is just like a side gig. And eat as much crafty as you can during
But you know what?
takes.
Actually, low ambition, and when I mean ambition, I mean like real drive to just put in the work. High levels of ego, like that. You do when you think of like a film student, like a young,
think of that, yeah.
young artist. That is kind of what you think. Would you call yourself a creative type?
Yeah, what got me into film was creativity. Like I wanted to work on creative projects. I think the term creative is kind of funny because a lot of times people assume that the people who are creative, not really people who push to make a film happen. Like it's usually like creatives working with the business people. But before I did film, I was doing business. Like I was looking at marketing, and I'm working on my master's right now in marketing. Like the biggest appeal to me is just the industry. Like it's an industry that makes sense to me. Like I understand the workflow. I get kind of how it all works. And so I just want to work in this business. I do have a lot of creative ambitions, but I also want to eat. So I think that's kind of where the two meet of like, all right, I love creativity, but I also have like a bit of a mind for organization and working with people and kind of team leadership.
So what do you think is the biggest thing, I guess, from your observation of film students and whatnot going through that, people who want to do this stuff, what do you think is the biggest obstacle or common problem that you see in maybe the people who aren't working or?
You're right. Thank you. I think the biggest problem for film students is that they all have a very kind of binary understanding of what film is, where you go into film and you become either a director or a camera guy. You go into any film school class. If you ask anybody, like, hey, who here wants to be a director, or who here wants to be a camera person, a DP, a cinematographer, generally 90% of the room is going to want to be in one of those two categories. Yeah. But when you look,
everyone wants to be above the line.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you look at a film crew, I worked on, I think, 10 features. And when you look at these, which is still, not a lot, but it's enough that I've seen, how features work. 90% of the crew is not the director or the cinematographer. I know, it's shocking. But that's the thing, is that the rest of the crew is getting pretty frequent work because they figured it out. They figured out that to work in film, there's a multitude of categories. Like you don't walk into a company and say, hey, I want to be the CEO. You walk in and you take a position.
And you say, I want to be the CTO.
Yeah, and that's I think the biggest problem for film students is if they want to work in film, you have to realize that you're not going to start off doing the thing that you want to do. You might get to be that thing, but like most businesses, you have to start at a lower level. To kind of be successful and to keep working, you need to find that track that can actually get you work, whether it's if you want to be in lighting, a grip, a sound guy. That's where I found a lot of my early success. There's so many departments that aren't being the director or being the camera guy or girl. You got to be fair. Or either. Or both.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the biggest thing that film students can do if they want to work in film is not stop with just the education. Because a film school degree will not get you a film job. It's just not how it works. Like it's not like a normal job where, if you want to be a pilot and you have your pilot's license.
But that won't get you the job either.
No,
it's
but
a
you can
prerequisite.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite. But yeah.
But I would say you're a lot closer to getting a pilot's job just with a pilot's license.
Yeah.
Right. Then you already get a film job with a
with
film
a
degree.
film
License.
Yeah.
license.
You don't need a film school degree to work in film. You don't. You don't need it. It can be
But
helpful.
do I need it?
You don't need it.
Oh,
Yeah. You don't.
nobody needs it.
Yeah.
I don't need it?
I didn't need it.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it helped me. And that's the thing, is that film school actually did help me get my career in film, but it wasn't because of the film school classes.
So it wasn't the degree itself.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
It was the education, and it was taking it on and really working at it.
Now, but you did mention earlier that you felt most of your education, you said something like film school wasn't where you got most of your education, it was
Right.
more where you applied your education.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that
Most of where I learned a lot of what I do, I actually learned in doing it. Like I learned in doing it with the production company that I worked with, and on the specific projects that I would do during film school. And the film school classes were kind of supplementary. Is that supplementary? Supplementary. Okay.
I
What I
think
was
it's
doing.
supplementary.
I think the biggest advantage that film school gives you is it is an environment where you can really try to figure out what film and TV is. I know somebody who thinks that they're going to be a successful screenwriter. I'm not even joking. I'm not going to say who it is, obviously. It wasn't, but it was someone in one of the classes who was convinced that they would be successful as a writer because they got an A in screenwriting. And that was their mindset. It's like, oh, I clearly have an aptitude for this because I'm doing well in the classes. And that's just not how.
Why?
Because film school teaches you concepts.
Right. But why didn't but why didn't it work out? Like he got an A, so
Like getting an A on a script that you write for a film school class is like your piano teacher saying, "Hey, good job, you learned that whole song." Like it's you learned how to do something, but it's not the same thing as working in that. Knowing how to write a screenplay is not the same thing as being a successful screenwriter, because what being a successful screenwriter takes is active discipline and work and actually selling the scripts and working for people.
So what does being a successful screenwriter take, Mitch?
What does it take? I'm still figuring it out. I haven't arrived.
At least for the above the line stuff that most people want to do, like film school can only ever teach you convention.
Exactly.
And really to succeed, you have to not you have to
be able to
transcend
understand
that
convention, but also innovate yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, young people come here, college students, typically, right? You'll have some older people, but typically it's younger people. And you're essentially saying, and they basically just teach above the line concepts. So you're taking the people who are at the bottom of the barrel and saying, here's how you do the top end stuff that, let's face it, since that is top end stuff, a lot of those professors, again, really only know that in theory. Go do it, I guess I get it, but like in medical school or whatever, like there is this sort of learn to walk before you run, you kind of work your way, like
a lot of that.
You go to business school, it's not like, here, CEO class, first CEO class 101, you might learn some.
No, I know what you're saying. Like, because I'm also doing business classes, right? And what's interesting about those classes is that all they're teaching me is just theories of business. Which is the same thing that film school teaches. They basically teach you theories of film. They teach you how this is what film has become. They teach you the art and the history of what film is. But that's not the same thing as teaching you the practice of film. Every individual film, especially features, and especially on the independent area, which is where most people, I think, probably get their start. All of them are almost functioning like startup companies, where you establish an LLC, you bring on the crew, you bring on people. And so unless you're going to be the one who starts that up, you're going to be hired by one. And unless you have worked on disciplining yourself and doing that function that they would need, you can't get hired, Like, no one can take a resume around and say, hey, look, I'm a director. Hire me as your director, because no one's hiring directors.
I think we need to wrap it up because I need to get going.
Yeah, sure.
And I
Hopefully
think
this has been helpful.
Yeah, well, no, I think we can do another one talking about your feature and
Okay.
and you know, kind of maybe your experience with that and whatnot. I appreciate you coming in and kind of saying this is your experience. This is how
Yeah.
you've gotten what you've gotten. Oh, I do have another question for you.
Sure.
How'd you end up paying for film school? How do you
How did I-
how do you handle that?
My folks.
What do you think if you had to pay that money, if you had that debt on top of your current expenses, how do you think working now would be?
I think if it was up to me to pay for film school,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have paid for film school.
Okay.
As much as I enjoyed film school, it would have been more useful for me to get a different degree that I could apply to something else and then make it a goal to work in film. Because again, as long as you can make connections to people who are doing film, you don't need the degree. I found a lot of use for my film school degree, but it's not necessary.
But you said you did make basically all your connections
Right.
via film school.
No, yeah, it was
Yeah.
worth it in that area. It would have been, I've struggled with this question a little bit. I go back and forth.
So there's no perfect answer. So, so it's more like you were in a particular situation, a
Right.
particular circumstance, and it all worked out that way.
Exactly, yeah.
And somebody would be hard pressed to just recreate all that on their own.
Yeah, I think I got lucky. I think film school is a very positive experience for me. But I know a lot of people who it wasn't a very positive experience for. And this is film school in general, like not any particular one film school. I think I got very fortunate because I really applied myself to it and really tried to build connections to people who were visiting the film school or working on things through the film school.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll cut that for now. We'll get some other things to talk about at some point, but
Yeah, sure.
that's a good segment there. So thank
Yeah, I
you for
hope so.
coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Cool.
Can I take this chair?
No.
No.
Oh.
You can have this.
That? I don't.